Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for Leo season 2026 or July, August 2026. Whatever your timing paradigm is, I'm here for it. I'm here for you, Gemini. We are using the 777 Bulgarian deck for you today. I hope you're well, if I didn't mention that, which I don't think that I did. Anyway, bit of housekeeping before we begin. If it resonates with you, what I'm about to tell you, there will be an extended that you can access at the end via links in the description box below. The first link will take you to Selfie if you just want the standalone for this reading here. But if you would like to see more of the extended content that I make, which is a considerable amount, I can assure you, you might consider coming over to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix on the Circle platform. There you can get access to all of the extendeds for all of the signs every month. You also get access to a weekly energy reading, which is anything from 45 minutes up, depending on how intense the energies are. It's kind of like the backdrop reading, right? And you can come participate in the Deccan Walk, which is proving to be nothing short of life-changing. If you've ever wondered about the crossover between tarot and astrology, the Deccan Walk is it. And people are stepping the sun through every 10 degrees of the sky. It's proving to be life-changing. It's like an individual and collective meditation almost, but much more practical than that. Anyway, if you join at the higher tier, you can come participate in the live classes that we run over there in all sorts of modalities, not just tarot, all sorts of things. There's loads going on over there. That's actually too much to talk about. So, that said, I'll leave all of that with you, and let's have a little chat about what we're going to do here today. Shall I move my cup of coffee out of the way? I think I will do that. Right, so we're going to start off with the most important question that you can ask yourself in 2026, which is simply, where am I right now? Nothing else actually matters beyond this first question. Not what am I worried about, what can I see coming down the pike, where am I going to be in a year, or it's just like, where are you right now? And from there, the second question that we're going to ask, inspired actually somewhat by the Deccan Walk, and so that's the 5, 6 and 7 of Wands. What kind of sticky situation are you dealing with right now that you can get through through embodiment and courage and all that sort of stuff? Like we'll get into it a little bit more when we pull the cards out. And the second question, the last question that we're going to ask is the second most important question that you can ask yourself in 2026, which is, what is my next step? We've just got to get through this year step by step by step. Next year things will be different, but anyway, I hope this is all right for you. In the extended, we will dig into anything that comes up here a little bit more deeply, as you would expect. So let's get started. What's the haps with Gemini? Where is Gemini right now? Right, we've got the Page of Swords in reverse. We have got a sideways strength card. Und wir haben the moon. Right. So the sun is at the bottom of the deck, interestingly enough. So we have both of the luminaries showing up here. The conscious and the unconscious, if you will. Subconscious. Let's go with subconscious. That's better. You could say it's the inside and the outside, actually. But this question of struggle is quite a strong one here with you, Gemini, because it feels like you are a little overwhelmed at the moment. That Page of Swords, which is a kind of an energy of information gathering, is showing up in the reverse, saying we don't really want any more information. There's something almost constrictive, restrictive about the way that the Strength card is showing up here, because it's like what the Strength card wants to do is to grow, to expand, right? It's representing an energy of personal development, personal expansion, getting bigger than your problems. And the good news is that it's not showing up in the reverse, it's showing up on its side. But there's a kind of restriction about that. It's like, I am too big for the container that I'm sitting in, and I don't know where the weak point is that can cause the split that will allow me to escape. which is quite interesting. And so when we've got both the moon and the sun showing up here, and the sun actually being the underlying energy for the reading, and the moon being part of the main energy here, it's how do we make it's not even expectation and reality. What is it? What I'm not seeing here is you comfort seeking, Gemini. I will make that really, really clear. I feel like you are struggling with some stuff. And it's trying to put the things that you know in the right place in your head rather than looking for new information. I mean, that door is currently shut because it needs to be. Because if it wasn't, you'd be hitting a state of overwhelm right now. So let's have a look at this. Snake shedding its skin, right? That point before the dried up skin of the snake starts to split. That feels to me like that's where you are right now. It's just a little bit too difficult to breathe where you are. Now, that kind of incredible compaction or restriction or whatever is very telling, because it's what happens before an enormous expansion. But in the moment when we're kind of struggling with it, it does feel like it's a little bit too much. Tell me about that strength card, please. This explains why the deviant moon was wanting to come out and be the clarifying deck. What about this? Right. Yeah. So we've got a whole heap of cards that come out here. Look, we've got the Seven of Swords. We've got the Eight of Wands, we've got the World, and we've got the Sun. Right, this is actually doubling down on what I've already said here. The World and the Sun are the desired outcomes. They really are the desired outcomes, right? So in so much as there's a consciousness expansion going on here, which the world is showing, you know, we've closed a chapter, we've ended a cycle with something, and now we're in this space of illumination. I don't know how familiar you are with the structure of the major arcana, but we have a kind of daylight, nighttime, daylight kind of cycle that runs through it, in so much as, you know, the first part of this is kind of getting to know yourself, and then when you hit the Hanged Man and you start seeing things from a different perspective, you're actually plunged into the underworld somewhat. And then the cards that follow that are signposts, guideposts on the underworld journey. So we go through the Hanged Man, and then Death, and Temperance, and the Devil, and the Tower, and the Star, and the Moon, before we re-emerge, reborn in the Sun. And then everything that happens in the Sun is from this much more illuminated place. Now, you've got the Sun here twice, and I like that, because this is really leaning into this idea or this message that you're very, very close to breaking the surface. But we have these two cards of struggle going on down here, right? So we've got the Seven of Swords right there, and it's got a definite flavour of it, of the Sword of Damocles, right? But where the Sword of Damocles was suspended by a human hair over somebody's head, what we've got here is a state of endurance that is being performed for his own safety by this character right here, right? Because it's the strength of his legs that's keeping the sword up, from which the other sword is suspended, and when his legs drop, that's when the sword goes down. Now, this feels to me, Gemini, like it's more of a fear for you than it is a reality. Because this Eight of Wands here that follows it, it feels a little less. What's the word we're looking for here? The Eight of Wands, for me, is often a card of amplification, acceleration, you know, things really picking up a pace. And I think that they are. But I think because you're hurtling towards this rebirth moment in you, right? And we know the struggle is real because we can see the strength card on its side here. But I think it's interesting that in this Eight of Wands, what we've got is somebody having to hack some stuff down. What are you doing? You're literally creating space here. So at the same time as you're kind of trying to hold up these two swords in here and stop yourself from impaling yourself on your own thoughts, mayhap. And this would explain why the Page of Swords is in the reverse. Let me hold that a little closer so you can see what I'm looking at here, right? You're also trying to do the work of chopping down some of the things that have been rooted in your mind for a very long time, right? With the scythe, there's always, it gives us impressions of death because that's what death does, right? Death brings the scythe to things. And although we have the messenger up here with the crow, again, it's a crow bringing the message. The messages of completion, endings, letting things go, creating space. It's not about bringing in new stuff just yet. And this is where the struggle is happening because it's so opposite to how you like to work, right? It's just process as much information as possible, and somewhere within that there will be a coalescence of anything, of an understanding, right? But we had to shut the door on this now because the noise that's coming from inside the house, which is inside you, is so overwhelming. I think it was Libra. I said to Libra that they didn't. I had a strong sense that they didn't know whether to sit down or stand up or whatever. It was just like no position that they were holding seemed to be right. And there's something very similar going on with you here. Now, obviously, Uranus is in your sign, and Uranus is concerned with notions of freedom and breaking free and rupture sometimes. And there feels like there's something really quite intense going on here with you as you attempt to avoid bringing in anything new while you're still looking for the old dead wood that you have to chop down. Like the message is coming from the other side, if you will. We've got the side that is representing death and endings and chopping things down. But where the world card is the kind of universal forces, I'm going to cover up her boobies there actually a little bit, that are working on you at any given time. The minor arcana is where the work actually happens. These are the responses here. So this is where you're going, and you know that's where you're going. But at the same time, the work that you're doing right here to try and work all of this out and bring the scythe to your own internal place is hard. It's actually really, really hard. Notice that we've got the Five of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, and this really is a card of lack. And when we're in these moments of great contraction, when we know that there's something happening here that is trying to create space, but it feels simultaneously like we're losing something of ourselves in the process, it's difficult to be enthusiastic about it. It's more it feels more like a compulsion that we can't stop. And we might like to stop it. We might like to just kind of sit back and be a little bit more comfortable. But the compression and the restriction just won't let us do it. Now, like I said, you are actually, very, very close to breaking ground, splitting the skin, whatever metaphor you want to use for it. Hierophant reversed, Eight of Swords reversed. There's a there's a Gemini card right there, right? But we've got the Hierophant representing the loss of stability, the loss of structure. Now, Gemini is a sign that moves around a lot mentally. Maybe even that might express itself physically in you, right? But there's something about that which is the norm for you, right? That they're moving around. So that actually represents the structure of who you are and how you do things. To be in a place of relative stasis, which is what I'm seeing going on here, is a departure from the norm, a departure from the structure, a departure from the way that you would normally do things. But we also see that it's totally necessary. in order for you to break free from what it is. I mean, the fact that this Eight of Swords reversed has come up underneath the moon is really interesting, because there's an underlying knowledge that it is something in you that is trying to shift. What it is, we don't know. We've got the Seven of Cups here. That's uncomfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. And the moon itself is a pretty ephemeral thing, right? It doesn't really give you the detail of anything. It provides everything in silhouette. We don't get to see the detail. And whilst it would be nice if we could have the illumination of the sun on our internal place, that's not what's being offered. It is the struggle itself that is leading to the breakthrough, which then brings you to this point of rebirth, re-emergence from the underworld. It's a lot, Gemini. It is absolutely a lot, but it's very much in keeping with what we would expect with Uranus being in your sign. The thing that I would say about it, and the thing that I really like, is that there is something very, very conscious going on here with you. Even though it feels like maybe you may not be winning, that might be the feeling that you have about it. The cards are saying something actually really quite different about that. That the winning isn't in just having the answer and then executing the thing. It is in the struggle that you are having right now that the illumination and the shift in consciousness occurs. Now, let's have a look at the stickiness. Let's have a look at that Five of Wands struggle. We've got the Nine of Cups showing up here. We have the Page of Pentacles. We have the Six of Pentacles. One more card for Gemini, please. What's going on here? King of Wands, yeah, Eight of Pentacles. I think some of this is that it's not happening as quickly as you would like. But I think the biggest issue is you just quite simply don't know what to do. Like I said before, you are very consciously doing a thing here, and you're very consciously trying to cut down the dead wood inside your own head to make space for the new, whatever that is. But I think the biggest problem is that things are so unstable at the moment, which is to say for you, stay static, that the idea itself of what you might want, what you may want to work toward, aside from a vague notion that you might like to be happy, it's like there's either some white noise around that as a concept for you, full stop, right? What you would like to do to make you happy, what would make you happy. But there's also a sense of not being able to quite put your finger on what is the most important thing. Six of Pentacles is a card of balance right there. But sometimes it's a card of balance because it's requesting balance to be brought to the situation rather than a statement of what is. We see actually in the Six of Pentacles more often than not a power dynamic that is anything but balanced, right? And we can talk around that quite a lot. Maybe these richer guys on this side are trying to redress the balance, but how much of this is performative and how much of this is actually just a performative status thing. Look at me, I'm so rich, I can give you this bowl of food. Is that actually changing anything outside of this moment for these people? Possibly not. I mean, I can talk about this ad nauseum, but it feels like there's something almost desperate in the pursuit of the balance here, because things feel wildly out of balance, but you don't know what to focus on. It's like every bit of you would love to be able to focus on something outside of you, but the noise that's coming from inside is too loud. So you don't know what to do about it, and maybe you don't even know what would make you happy in the first place. And at the same time, you're trying to work really diligently. You are trying to be consistent. You're trying to be disciplined. You're trying to do all of the things that all spiritual people tell you is important, right? And I got to be honest, Gemini, like, you feel to me like you think you're failing. And I'm here to tell you, you're absolutely not. Like, this is the way. This is the process. This is what it looks like. You think you're failing and you think you're not doing it well enough, but the Eight of Pentacles right here is saying, no, this is the work. This is what it looks like. The struggle is real, the compression is real, the even feeling compacted and feeling like you're losing something and still not being able to turn away from it and distract yourself with something else. Like, that is exactly what this is. What's underneath that? Queen of Swords. Ah, interesting. Queen of Swords with the Seven of Cups. Now that's your queen there, and this queen is deeply important to air signs, because the queens help you understand what you think about something, and this is really, really important to air signs. I feel like they need to understand something before they can really move on from something. A water sign doesn't have that same need to intellectually be able to pass something. They just know that they felt it, and maybe they hold on to it, maybe they let it go, whatever it is, right? But as I keep saying to people, I've said this a lot in classes with my students on Circle. The entire sword suit is underpinned by water, by emotion. It's very rarely depicted on the cards itself, but when you understand how humans work, everything that is important is related to your nervous system, to your emotions, right? And all that stuff works considerably fucking faster, subconscious stuff, than your conscious mind. Right, so now you're trying to use your conscious mind to unpick a problem that is of the subconscious. No criticism, of course you're going to need to do that, but it's the emotional stuff underneath that's confusing and illusory, and I'm not necessarily sure that the Queen of Swords is going to be able to help you make any kind of headway with that. There is a predisposition from air signs to try and intellectualize their emotions to understand that, right? They analyze them rather than feel them. And I think what you're feeling here, and the agitation about not quite being able to understand how to get out of the, not even the funk really, but like that restrictive feeling that you've got, is not one that you can really tackle from a sword's perspective. It's deeply emotional. I think that's the struggle right there. But here's the thing, Gemini, you're doing everything right. This is exactly the way, this is exactly the lesson. The agitation is coming from your emotions, and then your mind is picking it up and running with it. Tell me about this Nine of Cups. Strength reversed. Ace of Pentacles, right. Nine of Cups now is at the bottom of the deck. Now this is really, really important, because there's a doubling down on the message here, right? So the cards are showing us that Nine of Cups is actually the hinge point for this, right? You're trying to cut a swathe through all the dead wood in your mind. But actually, the problem is fundamentally emotional. Now, the reason why this is important is because this gives you an in on how to look for the issue. I'm trying to think of a metaphor that would explain what something to do with metal detectors and shit. The Ace of Pentacles is your attention, right? So you're being asked to focus your attention on this. The fact that the Strength card has now come up in the reverse is really telling, because it's showing where there is an issue, where like in terms of where you don't think you can. And what this is telling me is that there is something here that you are struggling with, and the underlying script is, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to be content. I don't deserve to be able to sit still and enjoy a moment, because I've got to be rustling on all the time. Now, you're a mentally fizzy person anyway, Gemini, right? That's real. But the mental fizziness if underpinned by a kind of quiet emotional contentment, has a far less deleterious effect on your well-being than if your nervous system is charged up, your subconscious is screeching, your shadow is screeching, don't you dare even try and be happy, what the fuck are you doing? Even though your conscious mind is saying, I am consciously engaged with the action of trying to be happy, or moving towards my goals, or wanting to do something really meaningful with my life. For example, right? The Nine of Cups is here twice. It's flagging up the issue. The Ace of Pentacles is saying, look at this. Don't be trying to cut down all the dead wood. It's like losing... I'm going to go with my metal detector example, actually, because I think it's pretty good. It's like losing a ring in a forest, right? You're like, fuck, my ring's fallen off. I don't know where it is. Now, the approach that you seem to be taking right now is chainsaw. I'm going to cut down every single tree in this forest that looks like it might be, you know, dead wood or whatever, because that will help me find the ring that I've lost. But when you step back and you think about it realistically, well, you can absolutely decimate everything in that forest, but you're not going to find the ring. Why? Because it's not really where it is. This, if we can focus on what the actual problem is, then we pick up a different tool and we go, okay, I've got a metal detector. This is going to take me a while, but I can go over and find something. And you might find all sorts of things. You'll find bottle caps and fucking all sorts of, you know, random metal things. But the chance of you hitting the thing that you're actually looking for goes up exponentially versus the chainsaw to the trees approach that you're trying to take right now. Now, that's not to say that some of those trees don't need to come down, because they do. But the point of the moment right here, the point of growth, the reason why there is an issue here that you're trying to grow beyond in the first place is this and this together. What is it that's rustling along underneath that says that you can't? Because that's what the Strength card reversed says to me. I can't. I'm too small. I'm not allowed. It's not okay. It's really interesting, Gemini. I actually had one of these fucking revelations myself last weekend. And I won't bore you with the details, but the upshot was the realization that I feel like I need to be given permission to do anything at all. And there's something really quite profound about that. So I don't ask for permission. I really don't ask for permission to do anything, but I will sit and wait for someone to give me permission to do a thing if it's something that I want. Now, I think if I was to ask you to put down what you want into 3 sentences, they would probably be really, really fucking vague. Because I don't think you've really allowed yourself to think about that, right? The Gemini mind always like leaping for the next thing. I need to be of service and I need to be doing meaningful things and I need to do this, that and the other. And it's like, actually, stop a second. If I had to pin you down to something specific that you want, that is not a fairly vague white noise statement, what would it be? And why does your subconscious think you can't have it? Because that's where the problem is, Gemini. It's right there. And this is why you don't know what to do. Like, you don't have a starting point. You're trying to cut down all the trees in the forest. I feel like what Uranus is trying to do here in your sign is show you where you've, to some extent, you've enslaved yourself to your own subconscious. So rather than the chaotic compression, repression, oppression of the circumstances, right? It's time to start getting a little bit more targeted about this. I really do think that this is the hinge point for you. This is what I would be interrogating if I started to notice this in myself. Maybe I even have done that actually, because Gemini is my 6th house, right? No, in fact, I absolutely have done that. And what would need to change in the way that you see things for this I can't, I'm not allowed, it is verboten, or whatever? What would need to change for this to no longer be true? Uranus wants to free you. Uranus wants you to live a conscious life. You want to live a conscious life. But at the moment, it seems like the two bits of you are kind of moving in opposite directions. And I do feel like you know this. You just don't quite know where to look. This is where I would start, Gemini. It really is where I would start. Let's have a look. What is Gemini's next step? 10 of Swords. Super. I love that. 10 of Pentacles. Interesting. Wow. Okay, all 3 10s. Yeah. Well, look, it's the Knight of Cups, Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck there. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that you really are at a turning point here. And I think it's considerably closer than you think it is. And I think that's part of the thing that's causing the R at the moment, right? So take a deep breath and step back from it a little bit, because I love this 10 of Swords. I love all 10 of Swords, and I know it's a hot take and a lot of tarot readers will be like, right, but when the 10 of Swords shows up, what we've got is a very necessary arrival at and a witnessing of the limits of our own cognition. And this is why this is such a powerful card. When you can look at yourself and notice the patterns that are running underneath, those that shave off entire aspects of reality for you, right, because you're not allowed to experience them. When you notice that operating in your own mind, you can consciously change that. For me, the most helpful thing to do is often about working out where that fucking started. Right, what thing that I witnessed when I was a child, that I was subjected to when I was a child, you know, implied or overtly stated, led me to believe idea plus emotion. That's what belief is. And emotionally invest in the idea that that's not for the likes of me. When you hit that point, when you can see where that originated, and you can look at it with adult eyes and go, but that's actually nonsense, then we start to shift, right? Because what replaces the 10 of Swords is the Ace of Swords. Now we've got a truth. We've got a truth that we couldn't access before because our vision was too narrow. Why? Because that isn't for the likes of us. There's always a challenging of belief systems that goes on with the 10 of Swords, right? It's the limit of your own cognition. The whole sword suit actually is a lurch towards cognitive crisis, because this is how our minds develop. This is how consciousness develops. You don't hold the same thoughts in your head that you did when you were 6. To even suggest that would be ridiculous, right? Except that in your subconscious, there are a shitload of thoughts that you still hold from when you were 6, 7, 8, maybe younger, right? They formed your worldview. And then they go what feels like almost dark, right? But that cycle is still spinning deep down there. And conscious mind, obviously, has grown up, it's doing other things, it doesn't understand the underlying mechanism that is at play. That's what we're digging for here, this one. Because I can't is a white noise statement. It means literally nothing. It actually doesn't mean a thing, right? When you strip it down and you interrogate it, it doesn't mean anything at all. And if it doesn't mean anything at all, why the fuck is it guiding your life experience? That's the question. 10 of Pentacles in reverse and the 10 of Cups up here. I mean, 3 10s in a reading is a strong indication of an end. But here, like, I like the Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Cups a little less than I like the Ten of Swords and the Ten of Wands, to be honest. And, you know, that might just be because I am, you know, a chaotic child of Pluto. And I see pain wherever I go, right? And it's not quite that bad. But I really do feel like these two cards have the capacity for so much more suffering in them than this one. I really do, because it's when we try and hold on to things. We try and hold on to, you know, the family dynamic or the worldview that was given to us by the family dynamic, right? Because there was a point where your survival quite literally depended on being part of the family dynamic. The structure, the stability, the legacy, and the heritage in the Ten of Pentacles. Like, everybody wants to be a part of something. I mean, this feels like understanding the subtlety and the nuance. This is something that I think Gemini can do quite well, but it doesn't necessarily come too naturally when you're looking at yourself. I think you're trying to maintain a structure that is not and was not ever yours. And I think to some extent this has, as it would with everyone and as it has with everyone, it damages your sense of your own authenticity, because there's something about you that is so different from where you came from. Like, there isn't an ease in trying to fit into the dynamic that you were born into, raised by. This feels like individuation. Painful, uncomfortable for sure, but it's a series of realizations. And I think a lot of them are there. Your nervous system has certainly been working to them, but like, your conscious mind didn't like them, and so it ignored them. But the problem is there that now you're trying to work to a pattern that is not authentically yours, and you didn't even notice it was there. Well, you kind of had an idea that it was there, right? But this is it, Gemini. This is what this is about here. This is the step before the massive breakthrough. I wonder if this is where, you know, a parting gift from the South Node in Virgo, possibly, but it might also be an exhortation to really just keep going, Gemini. Keep bringing that energy that you've been bringing to whatever you're doing, and keep applying it. But let's get it more targeted. Let's get it to where the problem actually is. Because whilst there's a possibility that you could find it eventually, you're expending an awful lot of effort, and I do feel like your legs are getting a little wobbly here. You know, whatever the revelation of this is, and it's probably a little bit something like that, it's real. And even if it smarts a little bit when you see it, when you recognize it, things that are real align. They help us feel aligned. Like, this is really deep work you're on with here, Gemini. I'm not surprised you're feeling kind of like... All right. This is really interesting. I'm going to go to the extended now. We're going to dig into this more. Being as it seems that this is the crunch point, I'm really going to dig into this here. and we'll have a little chat about that. So if you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Selfie, you can do that on Spotify. Do you know I actually am on Spotify? I don't know why I said that, but I am on Spotify. Although I think that probably needs a little bit of improvement. Anyway, Circle is what I was going to say, my private community. I would love to see you in either place. I really love to help people fucking crack problems. My South Node is in Aquarius, right? But it's at the exact degree which is associated with the undoing of knots. And I love to undo knots. You got a knot going on here, Gemini. So let's tackle it together. Anywho, I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.